Hi, this is Crystal Blue, and I'm here to do the 7/7/2021 portal reading. Now, when I pulled cards, I was in the middle of trying to finish the Pick a Deck, Pick a Pile reading number 3, and so the way that I operate is I have a lot of messages that come through, and sometimes they come through really quickly. And since I'm also working in my 3D world, I don't have time to sit down and just film them right away. So I just want to say here that I did pull these at the 7/7 portal, and I had to finish up the Pick a Deck, Pick a Pile reading number 3. It was pretty involved. So I encourage you to watch all three of them if you can. They're each at least an hour and a half long, and it's just the nature of the message that's coming through. And it's also quote unquote peer reviewed in terms of the types of readings that I get are pretty deep, but they also involve my background as a scientist, as I've said. So a scientist that has been on her own journey of learning specific things at specific times, and then learning that divine timing was definitely part of that, a big part of it, and that I really wasn't ever just the one choosing what I studied, when I studied it, and where I studied it. And I've talked about that in other readings as well as in my book Past Forward. But this portal message, the reason why I bring this up is because the readings that I'm being guided to do are bringing this closer together, so it's more obvious for people to realize why certain people are involved in perhaps tarot reading, oracle reading, and yet they have these other parts of their lives where they have a 3D profession. And there's many of us that have discovered that we can do these readings to help people and actually even to help them learn how to heal themselves. And so that's part of my journey too, because I had to heal from things that I was being prepared for to experience and go through that healing process. So it kind of feels like a cruel or wicked game, but know that it's not God that's playing the cruel, wicked game. It is Satan that is playing this game. And there are many of us from different professions that are being called to do these readings to help people see the darkness and the deception that has been perhaps plaguing them far longer than they realize. But it's a multifaceted problem. And I remember coming across something written called "The Problem of Evil," and that's what keeps resonating with me more and more as I go through these different readings. It's a huge challenge to deal with evil, and that's why Satan is so successful, because there are so many facets to it, to evil, and I call it hashtag IT for a number of reasons. But when I wrote my book, chapter, I think it was chapter 3, where I started getting into this topic of evil. And I won't say what the chapter title is because my book hasn't been published. It was actually obstructed from being published by those who are doing evil deeds, dirty deeds, cheaply and not so cheaply. So I began to write about this problem of evil before I came across that piece of literature, but it was probably the most challenging chapter that I had to write. And I wrote it and kind of moved around my chapters because I realized that part of the problem of evil that is plaguing most of us involves addictions and codependency. So you don't have to do drugs to be an addict. You can eat too much. You can shop too much. You can complain too much to the point where you can't be living around that person. Um, Narcissism has a lot to do with it. And I noticed that narcissistic tendencies also correlate or coincide with this diversion from one's self, and it goes into the bipolar. Um, uh, there's obsessive and compulsive behaviors, poor impulse control, or increasingly poor impulse control, along with obsession and compulsion. And then it's a slippery slope through this narcissistic path that, if not course corrected, which I talk about in, I think it was Pick a Deck, Pick a Pile number 3, where you need to set your own course and not be led by the nose or led into codependent relationships over and over and over and over again. So that's where spirit is trying to reach us so that we don't get caught up in that negative feedback loop over and over and over again. It's like a hamster wheel that you can't get off of. But this is where Satan traps people and traps them, you know, uh, throughout one's life. And it also seems to me, from dealing with what I've learned along the way, that it has to do with our past lives too. So know that Satan is desperate in these end times to get as many souls as possible. And I'm not just talking about it from hearsay. It's very apparent to me how people are being misled, misinformed, manipulated, especially through government, especially through the health industry, especially involving COVID. And fear tactics are used to make sure that more of us are led by the nose or led by artificial intelligence, and also through many wars, so that a few can profit and then wipe out as much of the population as possible. So we're on to this evil, and there are many of us in many professions who are fighting back in the ways that we can, because of course we want you and yours to prosper, and we don't want evil to prosper. And that's why I'm doing this also, because I'm part of the movement, if you will, for the new earth. And there's no room for that kind of behavior to prosper. No weapon formed against us shall prosper, because we are uh, the creators of our own lives, and we are moving into this new earth, quote unquote. Um, and Satan doesn't want that. Satan doesn't want people to be individuals. He wants to be able to, she wants to be able to control all aspects of our life and our personalities, our identities. And through this codependency and narcissism and addiction, essentially what you're giving up when you support it or support somebody with these habits, and there are many of them that are discussed in relation to the 7 deadly sins. But, you know, it's a slippery slope through the addictions and entrapment and the feeding off of one's own energy source, one's God-given energy. This is a prime way for those entities to serve the dark side and take your life force. So this is what we're doing as citizens of the world. Many of us tarot and oracle readers who are not of the dark side, we are light workers and we are shining light on this evil and calling it out for what it is and where it creeps in and has infiltrated. And I've talked about it in relation to my profession, science, and the water industry in particular, but also involving many natural resources that are used and abused and hoarded to war and kill innocent families, innocent children, and rape them, rob, pillage, and destroy the environment. So you can see why Spirit has me talking about this. So I want to make this a quicker reading, but as I sat here, I was getting a lot of downloads on how to kind of address this initially, because this is actually a pretty cheerful message, believe it or not, and it's Spirit's way of reminding us that we are sovereign individuals and we are in control of our destiny, and we want to keep it that way. So as more information comes out in relation to the COVID farce and the people making a profit off of the pharmaceutical investments that they've made, um, you know, let's just say that the misinformation that they're trying to protect is actually misinformation that um, they're spinning. Okay, so we're spinning it back, and I wanted to say here real quick too. It's it's part of our constitutional right in America to um, have justice, to ensure domestic tranquility, to provide for the common defense. Okay, this stuff is uncommon. This is like over the top evil, and I'm talking about COVID. I'm talking about those who are using chemicals, biochemical weaponry, and nuclear, biological, and also other tactical ways to control people. So that's not for our general welfare. It's not to secure the blessings of liberty in this country, in the United States of America, where many people from other countries come to pursue their dream. And just a few percentage of people think that they can do whatever they want on this planet and and try to control our liberty and our sovereignty. And I'm one of the people who isn't going to tolerate it. So I hope you are too. But I did want to read this because this is an Independence Day and portal, 7/7 portal reading. So this is a bookmark that I've had. It shows all of these presidents of the United States since George Washington. And we know I'm not going to get into the Freemasonry, Illuminati, all that stuff. Okay, there are many people that know all these connections back to the Knights Templar, the Catholic Church, the Illuminati. There's movies made about it, including the Da Vinci Code. So you can do your research as well, just as I've had to figure out why I was being bothered as a scientist. And it's for this very reason, because our Constitution, the U.S. Constitution, is being threatened. And some of the Masons knew this, and that is why the United States of America formed under the U.S. Constitution to prevent this type of infiltration from succeeding. And you can look back to Adam Weishaupt and others that were involved in trying to undermine the U.S. Constitution back when it was being formed in 1776. And you can look into the assassination of Abraham Lincoln and other presidents, including JFK, and you can keep connecting those dots. That's why I'm talking about the demonic part of this so often and in relation to science, because that is still what is plaguing our country. So this says, we the people of the United States, in order to form a more perfect union, establish justice, ensure domestic tranquility, provide for the common defense, promote the general welfare, not poor fare, and not everybody live on welfare while a few percent enjoy all the all that is golden, delicious, right? Which is what I wrote about in my book. So the Constitution is to protect us by promoting the general welfare of all people as citizens of this country, and not those who come in and pretend that they're citizens of the country and become U.S. presidents, which is what happened in 2008 and 2012. So the Constitution is there to secure the blessings of liberty to ourselves and our posterity. Do ordain and establish this Constitution for the United States of America, while COVID and all these other farces to gain control and to rework and reorder the way in which decisions are made and jurisdictions are managed. Okay, so there's a lot of people in the justice system who are getting called out, and I've called out some recently, including former Attorney General Kamala Harris, who I communicated to directly. So, she's not above board, and nor are many people in the justice system in California, and they know who they are. So they're not establishing justice, but they are manipulating jurisdictions and the legal system, which I studied. I was in law school. And they're not promoting the general welfare of all people, but they are profiting from these perilous conditions that are being forced on people more and more. So these were the kinds of messages that I was getting downloads about when I was a scientist in California. And so I'm hitting back pretty hard right now about this, because while this message, it looks flowery and nice and everything, there's reasons why Archangel Michael was with me out in California, to protect me, because of this kind of bullshit that they're trying to pull to undermine our Constitution as lawyers, as doctors, as judges, as policemen and women, as labor union representatives, as engineers, as scientists, as firefighters, as nurses. Okay, so this is why I'm getting at the issue of evil, because you can be in any occupation at any level and have evil infiltrate your work environment, as it did mine as a scientist, and undermine all the good that has been done for the people, including, I worked with bond management and water bond management, and the evil doers want control of not only water, but they want control of the money and the bond money, and they want control of our Constitution and our state constitution, or our state liberties, our housing, which I've also experienced. So again, I'm talking from experience. And so that's why this message is important around Independence Day 2021, because around Independence Day 2012 is when I was being uh, a targeted individual very heavily. 2011, 2012 were very difficult years, and my health and safety and my life were in jeopardy then. So, and I was being harassed around Independence Day, um, basically being mocked. And that's what Satan does through his minions. He sends to mock people who can and do help try to prevent this infiltration from worsening. So, anyhow, the message that I wanted to bring forward is coming from this Gateway Oracle deck by Denise Lynn. And this looks really peaceful. And that's what we're working back toward, is peace, right? Tranquility, as it says here. To ensure domestic tranquility, to establish justice, and to form a more perfect union. Because what is happening in America right now is far from perfect. It's extremely unreasonable. There's no reasonableness, which the law requires. And there isn't a common defense, okay? But they're using science and abusing science and chemicals and biochemical attacks, uh, including COVID, to divide and conquer. Okay, so you'll understand this message more clearly once I present it. But the two cards that came out when I shuffled for the portal reading are these: opening to love and hearing messages from spirit. And this is what was I was dealing with when I was being targeted, because I opened myself back up to love after 9/11, and it's something I've written about in my book, Past Forward. And I was also hearing messages from spirit, right? But Satan doesn't want us to love because he's so spiteful and hateful. And you can see these tendencies in people that follow him. They're smug. They don't think anybody else deserves what they deserve. They're very arrogant, very dangerous and calculating. And many of them are in our governments, state governments. They've worked their way into specific positions so that they can have all that's gold and delicious while a lot of people suffer. And we can see that suffering happening more often, especially in California, where there are 38 million people. So, these are really pretty pictures, and they're inspiring, and that's what I'm here to do, is inspire you, because you can get through the difficulties that are abounding, and more of them are coming because there's another round of this COVID farce being implemented. And as I speak, people in Los Angeles are not, even if they've gotten vaccinated, apparently they're going to have to be forced to wear masks again. So you can see where this is going. They're going to push this to the hilt to try to scare more and more people and give off false information about the risk. So I'm here to remind you to still be open to love, which pushes away fear. Okay? And when you look at power versus force, I'll put a link in the description box below, but Power versus Force is a really important book, and there's science behind it. And it reminds us that love is a far more powerful energy than fear and hate, okay, on the scale. So I encourage you to read that book, Power versus Force, because what is happening government by government is these fear tactics, and they're using chemical and biochemical means to cow people. And that when you have more fear, you attract more negativity. It's the law of attraction, and it just works like that. When you're afraid, you will attract more negativity in your life. So I'm here delivering this message from Spirit to do the opposite, and that is to love and to open to love. Okay? So it says on the bottom here, I am a clear channel for messages from Spirit. And I can tell you when I was extremely targeted, my third eye was way open, and I was getting all kinds of downloads from Spirit to help guide me through and tell me, turn left, turn right, look at this, look at that, look at this license plate, look at that sign, look at whatever. I was getting so many messages sent my way because there were a bunch of lawyers and others behind the scenes operating against me. And Spirit was actually telling me who they were in so many words. That's how Spirit speaks, okay? So you have to tune out the crap and tune out the TV and tune into the environment and tune into your intuition and tune into your heart, because this is when you get more and more help from Spirit to open up your chakras, right? I talk about that in other readings. And when you do that, you can open up your third eye and your crown chakra in the same process. So you don't want to cow to the fear, and you don't want to be bullied into putting things in your body, or the jab, which is only going to make you more sick. There is proof of that happening as I speak, and I know people personally who have had the both shots and have gotten very sick. So this card says down here, my heart is open. So it's very important to keep your heart open, but also know that there are different types of weapons being formed against us, just as they were me. And also directed energy weapons were used against me. I still managed through it, and that's why Spirit's having me talk about these messages around Independence Day. These two cards are the cards that came out when I shuffled the Gateway Oracle for the 7/7 2021 portal message. So it's no coincidence, right? And I did want to show you the bottom of the deck too, because the bottom of the deck, although these oracle cards are probably not, I didn't see in the booklet where there's a meaning for them in the reverse, but this is what came out in the reverse, and I hadn't really used these cards much, so I'm not sure how this ended up in the upside down position, but we're not flying free. Many people are not flying free, and we're not flying free because of the fear mongering and the war mongering that is happening as our liberties are being taken away. And not just in this country, the United States of America. This COVID crap is being broadcast in the atmosphere and in the airwaves, I should say, both in the environment and on television to scare the hell out of people. And, you know, some people have died from it. Many of them are the elderly. And there's a reason for that, okay? So we need to get wise about what it is that's really happening. And as you get wise, you get less fearful, and you actually open your heart chakra more and have more compassion for what is happening, because there's no room for greed right now, and other deadly sins, and acting juvenile and irresponsible. Now is a time for compassion and helping one another through the lies and the deception and the misinformation that is being spun, so that these ne'er-do-wells can keep profiting from others' peril. So again, there's no coincidence that this flying free card is upside down. Okay, in the upright it says, "I unfurl my wings and fly." So you'll want to watch, for sure, you'll want to watch my pick a pile, pick a deck reading. No, it's the pick a deck reading number 3, and I believe it's pile number 1, where it talks about flying through the revolution, because there is a revolution going on, and it is a revolution of opening oneself to love. Okay. And right behind the flying free card that's upside down is the taking action. So you need to take action. If this message is resonating with you, then Spirit is prompting you to take that leap. This is like the Fool card. Looks like it reminds me of the Fool card. Okay. And in tarot, and it says, "I enthusiastically embrace life's boundless possibilities." Because I can tell you, if you cow to the fear, your options are very limited. So when you don't cow to the fear and you follow your heart, and as I said in pick a deck, pick a pile reading number 3, pile number 3, you know, you want to think with your heart. And that is what Spirit is saying in so many words in this portal reading. As you take action, this is how Spirit is guiding you as well as me. I'm no different. Okay? But I am much freer than I was. Okay? And behind taking action, you want to cherish yourself. Not be narcissistic, but take care of yourself. And when you take care of yourself, that's like putting the gas mask on you first so that you can turn around and help take care of others. And it says, "I accept and love myself." And I did want to bring up something here too. Those who want us to be afraid are also those who want to bully us into thinking that we're less than, and we don't deserve what we've earned, and we don't deserve liberty, and we don't deserve domestic tranquility nor justice. Okay, so you do deserve all those things, and it's you deserve to be treated humanely on this planet as a world citizen. Okay, so accept and love yourself and don't buy into the Schadenfreude. And you can look that term up because that's connected back to the Hitler legacy, which is also being woven into the sustainability farce, which I know about firsthand as a scientist, having worked in and around that oncoming train, basically, of sustainability when what they're doing is not sustainable. That's where Satan hides. Satan hides in all these monikers and these names and these vehicles where, you know, sleight of hand and movement of money and movement of resources can be more readily achieved, including the mismanagement and movement of water where people will not be able to access it without having money or connections. And water on our water planet belongs to everybody, not just a few percent. So again, take action in your neck of the woods and cherish yourself so that you'll learn how to cherish others. Because if you don't love yourself, you won't be able to love others. And when you do that, you'll be flying freer. Okay? So these are the messages that I speak about as a former targeted individual, because I was hearing a lot of messages to guide me out of that shithole, basically. And it was an engineered one, okay? It was only done by people with human hands and feet and minds up to no good. And when you do that, you will make a difference, right? When you call it out for what it is and stop the ne'er-do-wells who are lying, manipulating, and speaking in forked tongue, right? When you speak up, you will make a difference. And when you take action in the positive, which is opening to love, opening your heart to act in a more compassionate way toward one another, then you will be making a big difference, okay, and in the ocean of life. So I'm going to leave this hearing messages from Spirit right here. And when I shuffled, I have a prototype deck that I talk about in some of my other readings, and this is the card that came out. And many people don't realize this, but doing chakra work can really help alleviate the anxiety. And when you read about or watch on YouTube the summary, it's like a 5-minute summary of power versus force, you'll understand the energetic connection, or the energetic, I'm trying to think, it's kinesiology, I believe, that is the focal point of power versus force. But nevertheless, it's energy medicine. It's energy-based work. And once you become cognizant of it and you listen to your intuition, which is also part of taking action in the positive, when you listen to yourself, okay, which is listening to your intuition, you're actually helping cherish what matters to help you survive, and that will help you fly free by yielding to your intuition instead of a bunch of garbage being spewed on the quote unquote news, right? Which is not new. It's a bunch of manipulated doublespeak, which is also a term, I think, that was used in George Orwell's 1984 book. So on the bottom of the deck, of no surprise, after I shuffled and pulled the chakra card, or the chakra work, this is advice to do chakra work, and it's environmental, okay? So what you think mentally occurs also in the environment. This is how spirit will speak to you. If you're resonating in the positive and you're getting your chakras balanced, you'll be able to be in more tune with the higher power, who will then give you more opportunity to hear messages to help you and yours. This is exactly what I experienced, especially as a targeted individual. But I was being guided even before that, though the dirty deeds were done. Okay? I was being guided and prepared to deal with that. So it's environmental. You can also order my quiz. I call it the Environmental Society Quiz. So it's donation based, and the proceeds that I get from that quiz, which I ask a $5 minimum donation, will go to help animals too. Hashtag help animals too is what I promote all the time, because animals are being abused also, and that's unnecessary, and it's a lot of time for profit, but also just for blatant meanness and evil. Okay, demonic forces are at play. And then right behind environmental, you can also look up environmental, hashtag environmental, and you'll probably see some of my tweets. This is right behind the environmental card. It says, I'm listening to my heart now. Because a lot of people are in their heads, and that's not where we need to be right now. We need to be more thinking more from our hearts. And how can we help one another survive what is being thrust upon us um, in many ways. As I said, there are many layers to this neo-fascist, habitual lying, manipulating, conniving, and thieving people out of what is their heritage and their God-given right to live and breathe and walk about without being harassed and being harmed, and their animals being harmed or taken from them, or their houses being taken from them. So, so I'm going to leave the environmental and the chakra work cards right here next to the Constitution. We, the people of the United States, in order to form a more perfect union, establish justice, ensure domestic tranquility, provide for the common defense, not going over into other countries and stealing and raping and robbing from their women and their families, and then moving to the next country and doing the same thing and calling it a different name or a different, Al Qaeda versus ISIS versus IS versus, whatever. It's all the same puppeteering behind the scenes. Okay? So we're promoting the general welfare and securing the blessings of liberty to ourselves. Okay? So the founding fathers of the U.S. Constitution wrote it with this evil in mind, because this evil, as I said in the beginning of this message, goes back to the formation of the United States of America, and even before that over in Germany, in Europe, with the Rothschilds and all that. So the Rothschilds are behind a lot of this, and so is the Catholic Church and other churches who manipulate behind the scenes to keep a patriarchal control. And that's only been a disservice to families and women and children over hundreds of years, including in my family. So listen to your heart, right? Think about what's happening in the environment and in your community, and in society and in the world, and be a world citizen, and You can do that by doing your chakra work, because that when you become more balanced in your chakras, you help balance the vibe on the planet, believe it or not. And let's see. Along with this, I wanted to say too, I was just writing up a few little notes when I pulled the hearing messages from Spirit card, and it does say on there, of course, I am a clear channel for messages from Spirit, and you can only be a clear channel for messages from Spirit if you're doing your chakra work and ensuring that your higher crown and third eye chakras are open. And in order to do that, you need to have your lower chakras cleared as well. Meditation, yoga helps, taking walks in nature, and protecting nature. The intent to protect nature and nurture is monumental. It's the intent behind it that registers in the universe, okay? So when our legal system is failing and the intent of those in the legal system is maligned to malign others, you can see that negative feedback or that domino effect. And it's affecting many of our families, as I've said in other readings, including, I believe it was in pile number 3 for the Pick a Deck reading number 3. So we have to take the initiative ourselves to rebuild our America as our founding fathers had to, because this evil is permeating more deeply and widely as it is in other countries, with the excuse of COVID as the one of the messages I think that's appropriate to share right now that I was receiving downloads from before my house was stolen was I came across, I knew that I needed to put some of my things out of my house away from the reach of anyone that could steal them, right? Because I was, even before I knew about civil asset forfeiture, which was made into a law, but it's technically giving the justice system the right to take your property without you having any right back, any right to it. So I knew something was up, but I didn't know it was called civil asset forfeiture, right? But I was getting all kinds of messages and signs to move my stuff away so that it couldn't be taken, and that's exactly what I did. Um, and they got my house because, of course, it's a fixed property. It's fixed in concrete, and I couldn't just put it on my back and take it with me. But I did come across a sign when I was looking for boxes to move things. And I won't say where I saw the sign, I just came across it. And it was something that somebody had written in black magic marker on a cardboard box, right? On a piece of cardboard box. And I came across it. Well, like I said, I was looking for boxes to move things out of my house. And that's in Davis, California, by the way. It's called I call it Greenhouse, and we were called Greenhouse Refugees. Hashtag Greenhouse Refugees. And we're also on Facebook. But what somebody had written was this: why lie? Question mark. I need a root. Okay? That's exactly what I'm talking about here. These lies about COVID and about 9/11 and about, needing to go over and chase a man in a mountain, and, the evil perpetrator of Iraq, who isn't taking care of his people. We need to go rescue his people from him. Lies, okay? Lies. It was just a lie to get a route to go into another country and wipe out people and steal resources and kill via genocide. Okay, and so that is the same prototype that is being applied in the United States now, and that is what I was also picking up on as a sign by, well, it was before 9/11, but of course, 9/11 hit, and we don't know exactly how Satan's going to operate, right? So we don't know the next attack, right? But we should know by now the game, okay? Because it's the same type of game over and over again. The same but different, the same but different, the same but different. Just like many of the movies, the violent movies. It's the same but different, the same but different, the same but different. But that's how screenplays are written. And how do I know that? Because Spirit guided me to go learn about screenplay writing. So I'm just going to clear this space because I'm going to pull some other cards. And I'm going to ask Spirit for timing. Because, we do need some help from Spirit on additional messages to look for signs. Signs in the environment, signs in our dreams, signs in our waking state, wherever you may find them, and trust the message. Start keeping a journal and writing down what you see. License plates, numbers, repeating sequences of numbers, the same types of sequences. I was just mentioning here, and I forgot to say this, that while I was writing about this card, hearing messages from Spirit, I wrote, I am a clear channel for messages from Spirit. And just as I'm writing this, a black crow flew right over my head and above this tree where I live. And it's a tree that looks like the tree on our logo for New World Communications LLC. But the crow cawed a number of times. So I'm not going to say how many times because that's my own information that I keep to myself. But I did notice how many times, how the crow did so because, crows communicate specific messages and Native American Indians know this. Okay, they know nature better than many of us. Indigenous people are more in touch with nature than these lying, thieving, filthy, rotten people who are manipulating science and nature and people to gain all that's golden delicious while they, wipe out generations. Okay, and Spirit isn't going to have any more of it. Okay, it's a new age, it's the age of Aquarius. And if you know anything about the age of Aquarius, this is where the truth comes out. The King of Swords is representative of Aquarian energy. And what does King of Swords do? He cuts shit out, just like the Queen of Swords does. Okay? So that's what we're doing right now. We're cutting through the nonsense and the BS, and we're going to protect the Constitution of the United States of America, and it's also going to be a model. What happens in the United States of America now in relation to the Constitution is more than likely going to be the model for a global constitution. Since the global elitists are trying to control everybody in the world, it's going to be reverse engineered. And what's going to happen is we're going to have a global constitution for our own sovereignty on our planet, which is our home. It belongs to all of us. It doesn't belong to a couple percent and those who they bribe with money that they've stolen country by country so that they can control and not grow the fuck up and evolve. Sorry for my cuss words, but it has me hopping mad these days. But it is a good anger. Okay, so if you look again, power versus force, you read about anger. Anger can be used in a beneficial manner to spur on necessary change. And that's what we need right now. Necessary change in the positive. So here I am, and I hope you'll join me. So listen for the signs in nature as you go on walks in nature to get balanced and grounded, and also around a tree, right? I was hanging out around the tree and, getting grounded, and I was listening to the crows caw. And the message that I got is positive, I'll tell you that. And this isn't a message that I share with everybody, so you will get your own messages. And if somebody tells you that the messages you receive are wrong, don't listen to them, okay? Because there are many people out there who think they know everything, even spiritual people. None of us have all the answers. That's how spirit works. He gives a little message here, he gives a little message here. He gives me a message, I deliver it. He gives another reader a different type of message. Okay, it's based on our experience and our ability to interpret the information. And all of us have some shadow work that we're still doing. So, we're all here to clear the shadow energy and evolve. So I've already shuffled these cards. This is the Moonology deck by Yasmin Boland, I believe. And I'm just going to see what Spirit wants to tell us about timing in relation to moon cycles, because I write about it on my website, Science Spirituality University. That's UNIVERSECITY.com. Because I started noticing those patterns, and even when I would go travel to Hawaii and I was being followed over there and stuff, I just remember being really peaceful anyhow. I was pretty sick at the time from being I was hit with directed energy weapons, and other things were happening to elevate my stress on purpose and cause heart attack symptoms. But this is how these fools operate, and it's good for people to know that these things are happening to other people, not just to myself, but to many people on this planet, and that there's going to be a karmic return, okay? So what you do to others will come back to you times 10, or maybe even more than that. That's up to God, right? Because God's in control. But God helped me through it. I can tell you that. The higher power helped me through, helped my family through, helped my son through. We even were able to save all of our dogs, but they were physically impacted and they died prematurely. They were able to live longer than I thought they would, because they were harmed also. And that's why I'm speaking about the chemical and biochemical attacks, because that's what they were targeted with too. So only psychopaths and sociopaths do those kinds of things. So that's why I'm saying the narcissism and sociopathy is devastating to a society, and that's where we need to get a handle on this evil. And it is environmental, right? It's like cancers. Okay, if you study cancer, you know that the good cells are replaced by the bad cells, and the cells are being tricked to grow into bad cells. All right, and so uh, I'll just leave it at that. But know that evil and demons do exist, and they are impacting our health and our what? Our general welfare. Just like they did back when our US Constitution was being formed, because the Illuminati was operating back then as well, and that is connected to the Catholic Church. Okay, so spirit. Angels, archangels. Angels, I should say 5D and above. And obviously, archangels are. My guides, my ancestral guides, spirit guides. Heavenly Father, Heavenly Mother. What kind of timing or moon phase information will be helpful to those reading or watching this reading, this 7/7 portal reading? Obviously, there's a new moon in Cancer. I believe that was around the 9th. But let's see what comes out in relation to the new moon in Cancer. I think we have a full moon in Aquarius coming up. I could be wrong. So, what moonology information can help us along with environmental science guidance from Crystal Blue? I'll keep shuffling until a card comes out, and if it doesn't come out, I'll take one from the top of the deck. I'm going to take from the top of the deck. Also understand that the United States of America, the Constitution was formed under the astrological sign of Cancer, which represents home. Okay, so here, this says the answers you need are coming. Okay, so this is Spirit communicating to us that the answers are coming, and I know they're going to come through me, not because I'm special or anything, but this is how Spirit's guiding me to talk about there is a better way, and you can visit my Patreon site as well and become a member for a small fee, and you will get the guidance that you need. I've been doing a lot of these readings for free, and so, I have to charge a little bit, unfortunately, because I'm going to be doing this more often, and, I still have things that I have to take care of financially as well, but also understand that Spirit is guiding me as a scientist to teach what it is that I've learned and what I already know, my skill set. So that's where this is all going to kind of dovetail in. There are many other readers that you can also access for free as well. But the message is clear here. The answers you need are coming, and I'm not the only one that's going to deliver them. Your answers may even come just from you tuning in to nature. So how cool is that? Because I was getting all kinds of downloads about my predicament in California when the justice system was failing me. And so was the science industry, the water industry. Okay, so this says full moon in Gemini. All right, so keep an eye on when the next full moon in Gemini transpires. Your answers, things may come to a culmination or an ending by this full moon, because that's what full moons typically involve, is an ending, right? The answers are coming, and so they may come between now and the next full moon in Gemini. Okay. Just out of curiosity, I want to look at the next card behind this one. Right, that makes sense too. And we have another full moon card here. Look at the bigger picture, which is exactly what I was talking about. And this involves full moon in Sagittarius. So perhaps you can look at the calendar and see when the full moon in Gemini and the full moon in Sagittarius transpire. This is a blue color, this is a red, reddish orange, pinkish red, I should say. So the red is involving the root chakra, blue involves the third eye, and I talked about both of them in this reading. It also involves the throat chakra, which I talked about in terms of speaking up and taking action. So I think I'm also going to be, since I went to law school, I wasn't able to finish because, of course, I was being bothered and misdirected, and so I wasn't able to finish. And I didn't know that that was even happening then. But I became suspect of that as I experienced more targeting symptoms as a scientist. So, and then my son and I both were targeted, and then we realized we weren't the only ones going through it, right? But we went through it for a reason, as a former military family. Okay. On the bottom of the deck, it says luck is on your side, and this involves a new moon in Sagittarius. So, and there might be an eclipse involved too. So we've gone through a couple of eclipses so far, and we have more to go through later this year. So you will want to note the full moon in Sagittarius, the full moon in Gemini, and the new moon in Sagittarius. So Sagittarius is a fire sign, and Gemini is an air sign. Gemini is about communication and is ruled by mercurial energy. Sagittarius, I believe, is Jupiter. Okay, and that's why the luck card is coming out, because Jupiter is astrologically associated with the giver of gifts and luck. Okay, so the full moon and new moon in Sagittarius are likely pivotal, because this bottom of the deck card is the overall outcomer energy. Luck is on your side. So something lucky is going to transpire involving Sagittarius, which comes around November, right? After Scorpio, after October into November. So something in November is probably going to be pivotal. And that's when elections happen in America. And Gemini, it's about communication and quick moving energy. So we'll see what happens, but keep an eye on this Sagittarius and Gemini influence, both for full moon and new moon occurrences. Full moon in Gemini, full moon in Sagittarius, and of course overall a new moon, because there's a new beginning coming, and that's really encouraging even to me. So thank you, Spirit. Thank you for that. My rising sign is Gemini, and that is I figured out too in my astrological chart. That's when I started learning to communicate more often, and find different ways to communicate what I know and what I've experienced. And luckily, Twitter was coming online, and other social media outlets, if you will, where I could communicate with others, to ensure that we establish justice and ensure domestic tranquility, even through the angst, right? We do need to speak out and speak up for our rights and our civil liberties. Okay, and then I do want to do angel answers, and then I'll pull a few cards from the Archangel Michael Oracle. And the Archangel Michael Oracle is the oracle deck I was guided to buy first. It's the only deck that I bought as a targeted individual in California. I didn't start buying any other oracle decks or anything, or any tarot decks, until, probably 5 years later. So Archangel Michael was with me. I knew he was with me. I felt him. People saw him around me. They know how to identify Archangel Michael, and they came and told me specifically that they saw Archangel Michael around me in my house in Davis, California. And that was around 2014, when there were a lot of bad actors, including bad politicians around. So, and they're still around, right? So we just have to be wise to their BS, call them out on it, and don't let them make any further moves to jeopardize our security, our national security, our true national security. Okay, so I'm going to shuffle. I shuffled. I'm going to shuffle this way now and see if any cards come out. There's one. These are called Angel Answer cards, Oracle cards by Radley Valentine. And so we'll just see, in relation to the answers that are coming, and the reminder to look at the bigger picture, which we are. We're talking about this global issue, right? The globalists and this global control of our sovereign right to live in peace and quiet enjoyment on our planet. I'd say that's a bigger picture, isn't it? That's the big picture. And to protect our environment, that's the big picture. Our global environment from warmongering. So, Spirit, are there any other angel answers to complement the ones that were provided from your guidance via the Moonology Oracle? Is there any other message besides the one that came out in regard to timing of answers that are coming, and how best to help those watching become inspired to take action so that they too can fly free? There we go. Okay. And let me just double check if they're... Sometimes I like to get a couple of these because, or at least 3, because sometimes the first one may not resonate, and maybe even the second message. But there are likely going to be more people watching my channel as I add content, and so this message may strongly resonate with people, and then the angel answer that best suits their intuitive process will be the one that they should act upon. See, that one was trying to come out. I think that will be enough because we had a couple cards from the Moonology deck. Okay. Okay, this one came out first. This one came out second. This one came out third. So this is how we're going to do it. The answers you need are coming was the first one. The second one was look at the bigger picture. That reminds us at the top of the deck to have faith in our dreams. That's at the top of the deck. Have faith in your dreams. Okay? Waxing crescent moon. And I just noticed this crescent moon, I think it was last night. Yeah. Looked just like that. So, Spirit's reminding us to have faith. Keep the faith and follow your dreams, okay? But on the bottom of the deck, it, of course, was luck is on your side. And so the first card, yep. Boy, is that cool or what? I didn't even look at these cards. Look, this is the card that came out first, and so is this one from the Moonology deck. The answers you need are coming. Listen to your intuition. And that is what I've been saying throughout this reading. So the full moon in Gemini, you can learn more about the energy involving the full moon in Gemini, right? And determine when the next full moon in Gemini is going to be. But don't ignore your intuition until then. By all means, listen to your intuition, especially around the full moon in Gemini. And then the second card involved looking at the bigger picture, right? Look at the bigger picture, and that was corresponding to the full moon in Sagittarius, as I said. And the bigger picture answer involves a year from now. So increasingly listen to your intuition, because over the next year you may have even greater perspective about the bigger picture. But it does take time, right? It does take time to learn, and that's what Spirit is saying too, right? Because there are many of us who are going to be teaching as light workers in different ways, and I'm going to be teaching more about crystals as well as environmental science, and that's what I'm going to be working on over the next year. So please visit my Patreon site. I'm listed there. You can search me as Blue Crystal, BlueChristYL, or Crystal Blue. Either way, you can find me there. And that is where I'm being guided to spend most of my positive energy teaching, along with my website. And that's Science Spirituality University.com, UNIVERSECITY.com. And if you're interested in crystal healing or obtaining crystal kit to help you with your chakras and your energy healing, please let me know. That is exactly what I'm going to be doing. And then, of course, the bottom of the deck card was luck is on your side, right? And a win-win outcome is being forecast, full moon in Libra. So that's full moon Libra to new moon in Sagittarius, right? Things are going to be improving. And that is when you'll be ready, right? The full moon in Sag from the new moon in just the way that it's important to look at this is the overall bottom of the deck is talking about new moon energy, but right behind it is the full moon in Libra, right? Another full moon card in Libra, and a win-win outcome is forecast. And what is Libra? Libra energy comes right before Sagittarius energy, which I just mentioned. Libra is 9:21 to 10:22, and then Sagittarius, then Scorpio comes out right after the Libra time period, and then is Sagittarius right before Christmas, right, in America. So luck is on your side, and a win-win outcome will transpire, which is good because we've been in this win-lose, who's the winner, who's the loser, and people call on the shots of who's going to win and who's going to lose. But this is where Spirit's kicking it into gear, okay? Kicking it up several notches. There aren't going to be any more losers on our planet while a few percent control everything and have these proxy wars and stuff. It's ending. This habituated, manipulated, sadistic warmongering is going to end. That's going to be the win-win for everybody on this planet. And that is what the bigger picture is, right? Look at the bigger picture. And that there's the scales of justice right there. You can't make this stuff up. Okay? So I'm going to put the scales of justice here because everybody on this planet should win, especially children, especially the animals. They have no way of defending themselves from this evil because they've evolved to trust us, and children rely on us adults to do the right thing for them. And there are many adults who just suck at it, and there's no excuse for it. So I've called you out before, I'm calling you out again, and the pedophiles, it's all coming to an end, okay? And Spirit is helping us each find our voices so that we can help the children, the animals, and our planet, right? And this is what's involved. Just like what I have already shared on my website, sciencespiritualityuniversity.com. When you go there, you can find the archives on the right-hand olive column, and there's a lot of chakra information to help you, and you'll see how the health aspect ties in very nicely with which chakras, which health and energy centers are impacted, and that's where the dis-ease sets in, right? So, and fear, the fear-mongering will only make dis-ease set in even more. And that's why, again, I encourage you to get the book Power versus Force by David R. Hawkins. And I also encourage you to try to find, I'll see if I can find the link for, it's like a 5-minute summary that a really clever individual did to address what he was learning about what the teachings involve in power versus force. But do not confuse force with power and empowerment, because that is where many of our leaders have gone awry, and that is where they're selling themselves and their souls out to the evil, which is force. It's a negative, they're negative entities. They're negative beings who feed on our energy and on our children through pedophilia, and our animals through slaughtering and abuse, and beatings and starvation, and all those cruel things being done to man's best friend. But man ain't a best friend, is he? So I encourage you to watch my Pick a Pile, Pick a Deck reading number 3, pile number 3, and pile number 2 in particular. And Archangel Michael speaking through us now through this oracle deck. As I said, this is the only oracle deck I owned when I was in California, and I purchased it when my dog was poisoned, Max. And I actually took these cards into the hospital with me to help me cope with the cruelty that was done to him and save his life. Okay, so Archangel Michael wants to share many things with us here. The first card that came out, a favorable outcome. My prayer, thank you for the beautiful outcome to this situation, which is perfect and fair for everyone involved. And that's what came out earlier, a win-win situation, right? So thank you, Archangel Michael, for helping me trust and have faith. So have faith in the outcome that is coming. And the timing is going to be starting more prominently during the full moon of Libra into the full moon of Sagittarius. New moon, full moon cycle of Sagittarius. Okay? See? A win-win outcome is forecast, full moon in Libra, a favorable outcome. So Archangel Michael is speaking strongly here. The next card is have confidence. My prayer, Archangel Michael, please lend me your courage and fortitude. Help me realize that I am one with all that is divine wisdom, strength, love, creativity, abundance, and health. Allow me to feel confident and peaceful about myself in all ways. And that gets back to the don't buy into the schadenfreude and the fear-mongering and the bullying. The next one is, oh yeah, this was the next one. Your inner guidance is real and trustworthy. So the inner guidance you're talking about is intuition, okay? And that is what these cards are reminding us about, right? They're timing messages a year from now, but a lot of us will be ready by September to make the changes, to start to make the changes that will take precedence within the next year. But your inner guidance is real and trustworthy. So listen to your intuition, your inner guidance. My prayer, please help me clearly hear, see, feel, and know the divine guidance that I have asked and prayed for. Allow me to keep my ego out of the way so your wisdom can come streaming through me for my own benefit and for those around me, which is what I said. Okay, I'm going to have to wrap it up. But the other two cards that came out is make a commitment to yourself and your life and have a sense of humor. And as you do that, you'll find that you're cherishing yourself more to have a little bit of lightness in your day as you take action and as you open to love, right? Because the lighter energy is what helps you also open up your chakras. And when you have your chakras open, you'll be able to make a difference, right? And that will benefit things environmentally instead of what is being manipulated behind the scenes under sustainability, which is not sustainable for us or life on our planet in reality, but it is more of the Hitler legacy, as I said. And you can actually look that up, and you can look up Agenda 21. So with that, I think I'm going to close because I am running out of battery time. But know that the bottom of the deck for the Archangel Michael Oracle is about eternal love. And that's what we're all here to remember, that we were born of love and we are about eternal love. And we need to return to love, which is what my pick a pile, pick a deck reading number 3, pile 3 talks about. My prayer, help me perceive all of the love that surrounds me so that I can feel safe receiving, expressing, and giving love. So you can say those prayers, and you can say this one. Archangel Michael, as the angel of courage and confidence, I call upon you to lend me your strength. Allow me to commit to myself, my life, and my divine purpose. Please clearly guide me so I can fully open my heart to every experience. And there you go. So with that, this wraps up the 7721 portal, and I hope you enjoyed it. Namaste.